educators say American business schools are partially to blame. Others say that is a ridiculous claim to make. Well, that means it's a discussion we want to have. Angel Cabrera is with us, president of the Thunderberg School of Global Management in Glendale, Arizona. He joins us on the phone. Stephen Kaplan is professor of entrepreneurship and finance at the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business. So, Dr. Cabrera, let's start with you. You say business schools are partially to blame for the crisis. How so?
Well, how could they not be? If you think about what's happened in the last year or two, when some banks have been given loans that they probably shouldn't have been making, and rating agencies providing ratings they shouldn't have been given, and insurance companies, insurance credit defaults, and now even car companies that we found were making the wrong cars. And, the CEOs of all those companies have MBAs, or at least of many of them. Their directors have MBAs. Their consultants have MBAs. Either they did not know what they were doing, in which case we have to reconsider what we teach in business schools, or they knew very well what they were doing, in which case we need to ask whether the values we're conveying in business schools are the right ones.
Wait, aren't values learned, soaked in, whatever, by first grade or even earlier, Stephen Kaplan?
I don't know about values. I think it never hurts to remind people they should be ethical. But I think calling the crisis the fault of business schools is basically silly. What caused the crisis? You had very loose monetary policy. That's economists. You had a global savings glut from emerging markets. That's government. You had regulators and Congress telling Fannie and Freddie to make loans to people who couldn't afford them. That's lawyers largely. And yes, you had rating agencies and banks who made loans and bought securities they shouldn't have. That was as much PhDs as MBAs. I think if you look who actually caused that. So at the end of the day, this is a capitalist system. And in capitalism, you have cycles. And we had an amazing run of 25, 30 years where productivity went up. You saw education go up. You saw democracy go up. People are not living in poverty in parts of the world who used to. So we had an amazing run, and with capitalism, you get recessions, and unfortunately, we're in one. But is this caused by business schools? Hardly.
Okay, so Professor, the people who trained this generation of leaders who got us into trouble, people who trained them and taught them bear no responsibility.
Well, let me tell you about some of the things we teach. One of the things that has been taught in finance...
Well, you can talk all you like about what you teach.
Wait.
I mean, it seems to me logic suggests that people who taught these leaders have some responsibility.
And let me tell you what we taught. We taught them that when you buy a security like a mortgage, you want to make sure that the people who have originated that mortgage have put up money. You have skin in the game. People forgot that in these mortgages where people were given mortgages with no money down. It's a basic economic principle that is taught, and that certainly people didn't execute.
Now, that's one thing, though, that's taught, Dr. Cabrera. I mean, that's something that, again, is taught well before business school.
Actually, I hear that argument very often, and it's just not true. I mean, it is not true that values are just acquired in elementary school and then we're set. I don't know about you. We did learn not to hurt our friends and not to steal their pencils when we were in primary school. We never had discussions about the role of executive compensation or financial reporting. I mean, the values that have to do with the practice of management have to be covered in business school. Otherwise, they will never be covered. And listen,
but a lot of this seems, I mean, I know I'm playing devil's advocate, but sort of obvious, right? People got greedy. But if people are being paid and not performing, that isn't something we need to teach in business school. That's a broader issue.
For a long time, we've been teaching in business school for people to do what's legal and try to make as much money as they can as long as what they do is legal. And I think what we need to do is move to a situation where we teach people what is right and to teach people how to really create value and create value for their customers and create value also for their shareholders, create value for the employees, and really make a positive contribution to the greater good.
But that is just fuzzy thinking. I have to object to that. That is fuzzy thinking, because if you take that view and the MBA oath that Mr. Cabrera has been putting forward does, how do you decide in the case of GM Do you close a plant? That hurts employees, that hurts society in some sense. On the other hand, it's something that's necessary for the economy, and it's very fuzzy when you start to get to talk about objectives that are, you know, in many cases.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Mr. Kaplan, but we are flat out of time. Dr. Cabrera, Steve Kaplan, thank you both very much.